Now we have Chaz Darby here. Now, Chaz, you say all you want to do is be heard. Well, you've got the whole world listening. What do you got to say?
Well, I guess all we had to say is that we want to be heard.
Yeah, well, we've kind of established that. What else?
A couple of months ago, we did an episode on Dog Day Afternoon for Pride Month. Sidney Lumet's now classic real-life story starring Al Pacino and John Casale, who take a bank hostage.
Will you get the fuck back there? Get back there, will you? Look at him, will you? Get over there. Go on back there, man. Get over there, will you? He wants to kill me so bad, he can taste it. I'm always going to kill him. Attica! Attica! Will you? Attica! Attica!
In the process, they become unlikely celebrities and heroes to many when the story hits the TV screen. Tonight, we're talking about a movie that takes the same premise and brings it into the music world.
Give me back off! Get back, goddammit! Put those guns down! It's okay. You can get up. God damn it, get back! What the hell is this, man? You invited me to come out!
Michael Lehmann, the director of Heathers, is here with us again to talk about directing Adam Sandler, Brendan Fraser, and Steve Buscemi in Airheads.
So what? Will you shut up?
Just get to the point. What?
Well, he won this radio giveaway, and when he went down to the station, they wouldn't let him in the building. It was like this total security building.
Rich Wilkes had written the screenplay for Airheads on spec as a big fan of Dog Day Afternoon. He and Todd Baker of Island Pictures pitched it to 20th Century Fox. They were fans of Heathers and wanted Michael Lehmann to direct their film. Michael Lehmann was a big fan of earlier rock music like Jimi Hendrix, but not as much the Guns N' Roses generation being parodied here. But getting a kick out of the screenplay and wanting to familiarize himself with this rock generation, he was in. Casting was a whole process. Lehmann wanted to find actors who you wouldn't expect to be in a movie like this. Newer actors, different actors.
Yeah! I was editor of the school magazine!
I used to wear corduroy pants. I used to masturbate constantly.
Brendan Fraser had just had his breakout with Encino Man. Adam Sandler, famous for doing Opera Man on SNL, had not even starred in his first film yet.
Hillary, la advisor! Hillary, aggressiva! Hillary, a power tripper! El presidente, esposo whipper!
And Steve Buscemi, who 2 years earlier had been in Reservoir Dogs, was known for doing quirky indie movies. Fox didn't want to make as edgy a movie as Airheads could have been, opting instead for a tamer, more broader appeal. In the 90s, even things like a neck tattoo and a shirt that said "Blow Me" were too far for a mainstream movie. The supporting cast, from Michael Richards to Judd Nelson, Ernie Hudson, Chris Farley, and Michael McKean, it really is a cast full of hilarious actors.
I'm having a little bit of itching on my, it could be hemorrhoids.
I don't want to hear that.
No, I know. It's just that I made an appointment with my proctologist to get some type of cream or something.
After trying and failing over and over again to get their music played, and even watching a far less talented rival band get spotted because they won a contest.
The Sons of Thunder, for Christ's sake, paddle. How can you even tell these bands apart?
I read the trade.
The Lone Rangers, yes, the three of them, decide to break into the local radio station, KPPX, to get their demo played. In the chaos, they accidentally take the radio station hostage with toy water guns.
What do you suggest?
Say something. They like you.
Shut up, Dick Smoke. Chaz, come on.
All right. Look, I know you would have been cool, but then this penis had to step in and get all heavy. Look, all I want to do is be heard, and then we're out of here.
During the hostage situation, it's revealed that Michael McKean is planning on turning KPPX into a soft rock radio station called The Rain, which makes everyone even more sympathetic to the Lone Ranger's plight. Airheads is one of the classic comedies that turns up the madcap energy all the way.
Tough. Seriously, move it. I'm not scared, Pip. Come on. I'm gonna stab your heads off. With what? With my dick! Yeah! And blood's gonna come out of your head! There's nothing you can do about it, because I'm a madman!
Anyway, before I introduce the panel, please like this video and subscribe to the Movie Night Extravaganza YouTube channel. Hit that bell to get notified whenever we're streaming. Also, we are now monetized, so if you have any pressing questions during this live stream, send us a super chat, which helps me keep the show running, and which I am obligated by international law, human rights law, to answer. We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/Movie Night Extra. All of our after parties are on there forever. Okay, let me introduce the panel. Conan Neutron, host of Protonic Reversal, co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza, and frontman for Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends, neutronfriends.bandcamp.com. Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends have a new split EP with Lung called Adult Prom. J. Andrew World, illustrator, book cover artist for Give Them an Argument, co-host for Movie Night Extravaganza, and Bad Takes. Kristina Oakes, This Barbie is streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/Cosmopolitics, Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Cosmopolitics. Send her some subs on Twitch. Michael Lehmann is a film and television director who has directed episodes of numerous TV shows, including Snowfall, American Horror Story, and Californication, and films like Heathers, Hudson Hawk, and, of course, Airheads. I, of course, am your host, whose birthday is today, so I better get some super chats. No, really, I better get some super chats. Forrest Miller. Officially, it's too loud.
Don't be too thirsty.
What you can't see is Forrest actually has a gun to the audience's head about getting those super chats. So.
I better get some super chats.
If you don't send his super chats, Donald Trump is gonna be freed and all charges are gonna be dropped.
I said Donald. He's not gonna get any
high
charges.
Stakes.
There's 91. There's 91 charges, and I'm turning 91 today. So,
Michael, welcome back to the show, man. Thanks for doing it.
Thank you. Very happy to be back, and happy birthday, Forrest.
Thanks so much.
Be the first.
So it cracks me up so much in this movie, the whole Adam Sandler bit where Steve Buscemi is trying to get him to be more and more aggressive, and he's just like, I'm gonna rip your head off with my dick.
Yeah.
Like more than any other line I think in this whole movie. It's the classic, and it's the first movie that Adam Sandler ever had a starring role in, right? It's like casting.
I think so. Yeah. He was on SNL, and he was popular, and we all loved him. But I remember there was a lot of discussion before we cast him of like, well, is he going to be a breakout movie actor the way a lot of people have been on SNL? Is he ready? Is this the right thing for him? I think I was always pretty much on board, and it wasn't a difficult decision to make, But yeah, he hadn't done. He was in Shakes the Clown.
Chase the Clown, of course, yeah.
And I think he must have been in something else, but I'm not sure I saw anything else.
I think Coneheads, right? Coneheads was a year or two before.
Must have been before that. Yeah. I think so.
But as a small part, I remember watching Coneheads like when I was probably too young to watch Coneheads.
That was a movie that everybody kind of felt like it was going to be a lot bigger than it actually ended up being.
Yeah.
Coneheads.
Coneheads, and it was like I don't know why you feel like that. That skit is like 1,000 years old, but okay.
My dad was like one of the big fans though. He found that he found it absolutely hilarious. I still remember him being like, and we'd be like, I haven't seen the skit. Like,
my dad loved doing Coneheads bits of me. A huge hit for the Red Hot Chili Peppers with the
soundtrack was a killer, which also brings me to Airhead soundtrack was also a killer. So
Can we can we speak about that? Yeah, I mean that's I like how the diegetic music, right? It's like the Reagan Youth song, but it's like basically most of White Zombie that's not Rob Zombie playing it, right? And Brendan singing.
Yeah, it's the whole musical thing on that movie was weird because we were making what was considered by the rock people kind of too mainstream a movie,
Right.
This is something I was running across a lot in my early career with them. I try to put really good music in my movies, and sometimes the bands would just say, "Fuck you," we're not doing that Hollywood sellout stuff.
Yeah.
And you go, no, really, this stuff is good. But when you're making comedies, and I was surprised to find out how many really good rock and rollers had a very, very high opinion of the quality of their work and where they stood in culture. Right. And so it's like, you can't put our music in a comedy because that somehow takes away from its subversive nature. And I was like, you guys, you don't get it. And it was frustrating. I sometimes would try to beg the artists to let us use their songs. But on Airheads, because it was a rock and roll movie, but it was being made by 20th Century Fox, there was a little bit of we had sort of had to tread lightly in order to approach the bands the right way and get their involvement. And it worked out. I remember, I'll get this out of the way right away because it still irritates the shit out of me, is that we had originally cut the montage where they're all having fun in the radio station. We cut that to Caught Stealing by Jane's Addiction.
Oh, really?
And it worked. It worked really well. It was really, really good. So I said, "Let's get that song," and everybody said, "Okay, we'll look into it."
Yeah.
And Perry Farrell, who was the leader of Jane's Addiction, was like, "No, I'm not going to let my art go into this shitty comedy."
Freaking founder of Lollapalooza, and come on, Perry.
Yeah.
But Entourage is okay. Entourage is a-okay.
Right. This is the thing that you can't. I could never figure it out. Like, I did a movie called 40 Days and 40 Nights, and we had cut a sequence to a track by a band that was getting its first record release. It was called Coldplay, and I thought they were okay, but pretentious, and but the scene worked great.
Right.
So I said, let's get this, and I was like, oh no, Coldplay. So they would never sell out, and now I watch TV and I see DHL ads with Coldplay.
Not even FedEx, DHL.
Right,
yeah.
DHL. Oh, I'm sorry. You're too good for my movie, but you're not too good for DHL, although I'm sure they get paid a fuckload of money for that.
Well, and okay, so and that's it's interesting to place it within a time because this is very much a 90s movie. This is very much in that time of like everybody was worried about, they weren't worried about selling out so much as being called a sellout, right? That was a big thing. Sure. And trying to explain this, I feel like whenever I have anybody on my show from that era, I feel like I have to establish the context early on for the younger listeners because that idea is just gone. It's
totally gone.
Does not exist anymore. Like, and arguably like it's pretty absurd. Andy, you're on mute, by the way. It was kind of like ridiculous anyway because it did prevent a lot of like cool stuff from happening based on like, oh well, if we won't be cool, like it won't be viewed as artistic if we do this. Like you're talking about being in a comedy, and to be clear, this is about what 10 years out from Spinal Tap, right? Roughly about 10 years.
No, I don't. I think might have been closer to Spinal Tap than 10. But yeah, Spinal Tap would have been early 80s, right?
Like I feel like that was like the first chink in the armor of like it's okay to like lampoon this.
1984.
Right? 1984. Okay, cool. All right.
And we also just talked about Tape Heads, which is right in the center.
Tape Heads would have been the other one. Which, another example of great needle drops, right? Like great kind of like bizarre. I mean, Devo. There's ostensibly a Devo song played by like
friend of the show,
the new wave band. Yeah, exactly. Friend of the show, Jerry Casale. So the idea, that ultimately you have, literally 1984, sure. You're trying to basically have the music be like one of the characters in here. By the way, I forgot that there's a almost note for note Four Non-Blondes cover of a Van Halen song on here. That just, I forgot about it completely.
Same.
Like Linda Perry can sing. Let's be clear, and they can rock. But I was like, this is definitely Van Halen, but this isn't Van Halen. I was like, Four Non-Blondes, really? And I somehow just forgot about that.
Right. We got some good stuff in that soundtrack, and there was a lot of work into finding interesting takes on stuff, and it turned out really well. So I'll stop complaining about it.
It was my introduction to the Ramones, so like that alone is just legend right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was also, I think back then, it was still during the time when people could make a lot of money off of soundtrack albums.
Sure.
That's of course, that's all.
National Born Killers, Crow, those are huge. Like, I mean,
the Pulp Fiction soundtrack, like
Pulp
everybody
Fiction
has that.
It basically brought back Dick Dale's career, for real.
We had like speaking of the soundtrack on this, we had like Reagan Youth jump into the mentions of the show when we talked about how we're doing this and like provided an article. I'll try to pull it up at one point, but
it's a lot of information. It's a big Michael, can you give us like a take on that?
Yeah,
I don't want to get bogged down the show.
Right. No, but it is interesting because I was really preoccupied with the idea of how are we going to come up with this song? The whole movie revolves around their song. So the question is, should the song be really shitty? But then does that undercut everything we've done? Is that like like a Shaggy Dog story? It's a bad joke. Well, no. So we didn't want to do that.
And you get the little tease of it like multiple times throughout it, which is kind of amazing, right? Like
you're
playing it in the car and you hear like the first you get like the iTunes snippet, and then they're playing it on the radio, and you get the little like lead up to it. It's like
because the quarter inch. And my first thing as someone that started recording, I'm old enough to like we mixed down to quarter inch tape, and it was like they have the quarter inch tape. Like, oh man, what if that gets damaged? And it's like, oh yeah, of course it does get damaged, like almost immediately.
But then we didn't want to make the song to be so good, like slick, that it would then the movie would be a sellout. It would be like, there's some,
Yeah.
So we were trying to figure out what the song should be that would be appropriate for that group of guys and that would feel authentic to them, but also be good-natured and actually have spirit to it. So we went through a ton of choices, and it was a huge problem because at some point we were going to have to shoot them playing it, in prison. And so I took a long time to land on that song. And I think at some point somebody brought it in and said it's called Degeneration, and it's, this band it sounds like these four guys would be. I don't think I knew anything about Reagan Youth at that point. I think it was brought to us by another band. And we previewed it and thought about it and said, this feels like it fits the movie. Let's do it. And then the guys went into the studio and actually recorded it, our guys, and did it to playback in the scene. But it was that was my issue. Anything about who wrote the song or even I think I knew the name of the band Reagan Youth, but I wasn't familiar. I don't think I was familiar with their music. So I didn't know anything
Rob
about
Zombie
all
that brought the, because I know that like Rob Zombie was kind of hanging around.
It wasn't Rob Zombie. I think it was somebody from White Zombie. Again, we should just throw that article in the chat so people check this out because I think it's interesting on its own right. But like ultimately, it was kind of like a mostly no harm, no foul situation, other than the fact of who actually should get credit for writing the song, which got worked out eventually, right? It got worked out eventually, but it took a little bit to get there. But also because like some of it wasn't presented maybe in the way that it should have, whatever. Okay, fine. But the version that's in, and this is something that happens a lot with music movies. We've talked about this, right? Of like you have like the version that's in the movie, right? Like you have like the great, Velvet Goldmine's a great example, right? There's like all the David Bowie songs are written by Craig Wedren and I think the guitar player for sure, I think, and you can like listen to the versions that are them, but people want to hear the version that's like sung by the actor, the version that's on the movie. Yeah. It's like, no, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for like that. And so then you get into a situation of like, okay, then this gets into a really boring topic about publishing, by the way, which is deeply fascinating for me as someone who gets publishing, but like, but like for most people, not very interesting at all, because the whole music world is obtuse and bizarre. But what it comes down to is like when it's something like this, where it's like made specific for the film, it's a specific version, the rights are different than it is if it's the original version or even the cover that it was on there. That's for the non-musicians in the crowd. That's what I'm gonna throw out there.
Thank you, Conan.
Yeah.
Music expert.
He knows music. What can
I do. I mean, I've gotten paid both ways, and let me tell you, one's better than the other. Anyway,
he's a regular music man over here.
Exactly. But I think that it's. But you're right, Michael, because like there's an idea whether it's like a joke on them or a joke with them if the song's any good. It changes the entire movie.
Yeah. We didn't want to make fun of them. We felt like that wasn't fair to the characters that we were presenting. And, you know, one of the things that was great about them is that they believed in themselves. And so if you have them believe in themselves and they're really like irredeemably shitty as musicians, that joke wears out real fast, you know, and is kind of obvious. But if they're pretty good, you know, if their spirit comes through and they've got a genuine kind of rebellious feel to them, but they're not like, these guys are never going to be huge stars based on that particular song. That's right. But the big question was, what does that do to our movie? You know, is it good enough? Should we have the song be amazing? And then people go, wow, they were really good. But then also, you can't predict if a song is going to feel like it's amazing. Obviously, everybody who releases a song thinks it's going to be amazing.
No,
every time.
Yeah, exactly. So we were aiming to have it be not too good.
Go ahead, Andy. What were we gonna say?
Watched a couple years ago. I ended up getting a short film from at an event at a recording studio, and so most of the audience was actual like working musicians, and Jane Weedland for some reason. Sorry, let me take that back. It was Jane Yolen, the children's book writer.
Those are wildly different Janes.
Yes, very. Jane Yolen. She was.
And then there's Jane's Addiction.
Yes.
Just can't get enough of them.
Yeah.
You got to do those Janes.
Mainland them Janes.
Yeah.
But the movie itself is really good. Pony with starring Sandra Berkeley. But the problem with the movie is that the song at the end of it, which is supposed to be like he has this creative crisis as a musician through the whole movie, has a breakthrough by making a connection with this little girl and records what's supposed to be a really good song. The song is shit. It is garbage.
And it doesn't work, I bet. Yeah.
And everybody after the movie was like, man, I love this movie. But that scene, once they played the song, it just like ruined it for me. So I'm glad you guys.
So basically what you're saying is, call you Jesse Pinkman because you're mainlining those Janes. Is that what you're
Exactly. Well, but I think it's also notable too that like for the conceit of of the band is that like it's like, oh, all we need is the one obstacle we have is that like we'll just get airplay and then riches, and it's sort of like like the South Park bit, like the middle step is question mark and then it's like riches and fame after that.
Well, but
which was very common in the 90s and ultimately actually was possible. But what I like about the film is that by the end of it, like, the epiphany is like, well, no, we're going to do this because we like doing this and this is what we like to do, which is so great because so many movies that depict the quote unquote music industry, they never get beyond that. Well, we get signed and then, almost famous, then becomes almost famous. Okay, well, great. Except for the fact that there's a whole middle class and lower middle class and like struggling working class of musicians that it doesn't make it any less worthwhile, doesn't make the music any less valid. And to have that kind of turnaround of have them questioning their own motives and be like happier about the journey being the destination, that's actually very impactful, like especially in a film that has a lot of silly things going on.
Well, there's also, I mean, there's that band like Gods of Thunder or whatever, right? That they're like, they go to the show and they see
Thunder, right,
that
yeah.
they like win the contest or something, you know what I mean? And like get to play, and like that does feel like that story, right? Like it feels like they won that contest, somebody played their song, and then like despite the fact that that band does fucking suck and nobody wants to even hear it, like their one song was the breakout, right? Like it's
yeah. Well, and that's two things, which is that and I've talked about this on Jason's show when he's had me on, Jason Miles, friend of the show, of being like, you know, how there's no working class in America, just temporarily embarrassed millionaires. There's no working bands in America, just temporarily embarrassed superstars. That also works. And then Stevie in the comments throws this out, not to mention the band's music was starting to go out of style around this time via grunge and alternative rock. True, but I think that's why it works, because it's sort of like these guys are sort of like wrapped up in their own world. You know, Steve Buscemi's working at the at the store, the toy store, and which is the whole impetus for how they have these like realistic looking squirt guns. So it's like an important part of the plot, right? It's not just like a throwaway gag.
Yeah.
And then you got Brendan Fraser, who many thirsty posts about Brendan Fraser, by the way, that is just like one of those guys, one of those LA guys that just like what is his girlfriend just gonna go right around the strip all day? You're exhausted from that, you know, like, but like that's what dudes like that would do. It's like, oh, you're just like a professionally handsome dude on a motorcycle, right on.
Yeah, doing Looney Tune shit apparently, like trying to walk into the fucking behind all the kids, being like, they'll pay attention to the kids. They're not gonna pay attention to me, like the large man with long hair that's walking into the like, you know,
the like 7 foot tall dude that was exactly
cool hat, so we can hide behind him. You know, 1994. Those Cat in the Hat hats were real.
They really were. Boy, were they? Especially if you're at a movie theater. I used to flip out. If I saw someone with a Cat in the hat come in, I'd be like, take that off right now.
I'm going to throw in a bit of trivia here that one of the Cat in the hat guys was Winona Ryder's brother.
Really? That's awesome. That rocks. I love that. That's great.
Was he the guy shepherding in the kids that were? He's like, come on, you're gonna, you gotta play this off. Like,
yeah, I can't remember which one he is in the movie now, but I know that he was one of the guys. I said, no.
He's the one with the tallest. We'll just go.
Yeah, he's the one with the hat.
So, but it's also occurs to me too, and we've talked about this like a little bit, is that like look at the primary cast, right? Like Steve Buscemi is like. By the way, is it Buscemi or Buscemi? I've heard it said like every which way, and I should know. I'm a big fan. Is it Buscemi? Okay.
Yeah. I've always said Buscemi.
You would frickin' you would know.
I don't know. You know,
maybe it doesn't.
He never told me it was any different.
Like. Kind of at the peak of his power, and I'm a big fan of like Living in Oblivion, which he did a couple years later, which I think is just absolutely genius and hilarious. But it's such a different type of like it's his first foray into what he basically became known for, which is as a fantastic character actor, right?
Yeah,
and
he had. I'd seen his stuff in independent films, and I really, I loved him. I thought he was great, and I remember one day I said, "Hey, I've got an idea, for one of the characters, let's get Steve Buscemi." And everybody looked at me like, you're fucking out of your mind. Because first of all, he means nothing in this world, and second
box
of all,
office receipts.
Right. And this is a comedy. And I said, but he's really funny. And so it was a struggle. I mean, it was hard for me to get him cast. And it was hard for me to convince him to do the movie. He was very agreeable, but I had to go take him to lunch and talk to him and say, look, I think you work great in this movie. I'd love you to do it, and here's why.
Had you seen Reservoir Dogs at that point? Because this is coming out like 2 years after.
It was definitely out. I must have seen it. I had also a friend of mine, a guy named Kiva Rosenfeld, did a movie called $20. That was
$20, yeah.
You know $20?
I do. Wow.
Yeah.
I have not thought of that movie in a very long time. Yes.
Well, so Kiva, who directed it, and Karen Murphy, who was the producer, who also produced Spinal Tap, they were buddies of mine, and I'd seen that film, and I thought Steve was great in it. And Brendan was in it. Brendan had a small part in it.
That's right, yeah.
So I remember talking to to Kiva and saying, well, so what's Steve like? Is he good to work with? He's, oh no, he's a great guy. And, so I contacted him directly and talked to him about being in the movie, and he was agreeable. And then I had to convince the studio, which is, really, really hard. And one of the issues was that the studio didn't think he was going to be funny. And they said to me, we're not making Reservoir Dogs here. So I remember them
as if that's
that.
like the one thing he can do.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
one note.
And I said, yeah, you're not making Reservoir Dogs, unfortunately, because if we were, we'd be making a brilliant fucking movie. And, don't hold that up as an example of what you're not doing, because we'd all be lucky if this movie was that good. But they told me that, and they were kind of like, we don't know about this. In the meantime, after the movie was shot, but before it came out, Pulp Fiction came out, and the studio said to me, we need to make more movies like Pulp Fiction. I'm like, you assholes, you told me at the beginning of this that you weren't going to make anything like Reservoir Dogs, and at the end of it, you say you got to make movies like Pulp Fiction. So
but that one made money. So there you go.
my film professor, like in college, he he graduated doing his undergraduate or whatever, like the year, I think it was the year after Reservoir Dogs came out, and he banned us all from doing like anything with guns in any of like the short films we made, because he said his last year everybody did a shootout and tried to do like their version of like Reservoir Dogs, pretty much. And he's like,
it wasn't his students too. Actual directors did that as well. I'm not gonna name names, but we all know who they are. Thank you.
No, but it was like a really funny moment to realize, like, yeah, like this was such a culturally ubiquitous Tarantino fucking sweep, I guess, between those two movies, that like every film student obviously is still trying to do the thing where it's like a bunch of people sitting around a place all like, pointing guns at each other.
Learning the wrong lessons yet again, as we have discussed recently. Just learning all of the wrong lessons. I don't think this works without Steve, frankly. I think that he's so key to like that, and like he's really good in this in a way that, again, he's like the glue that kind of keeps it together. Otherwise, it's sort of like, I feel like I think Adam Sandler is great in this. Honestly, maybe my third favorite role of his, that's like Uncut Gems, Punch Drunk Love, and Airheads would probably be my top.
Well, Happy Gilmore is a very funny movie.
Happy Gilmore is great. It would be a fourth. It'd be a solid fourth. And R.I.P. Bob Barker. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I think like watching all the Steve Buscemi movies, I mean, between like Reservoir Dogs, Fargo, like it's very funny to see him coaching Adam Sandler, who this is obviously like his first starring role, through the like tough guy thing, where I mean, I already mentioned the that part of it, but it's very funny because he's always like a very effete tough guy, right? Like he's not quite he hasn't quite got it, but he's got it like enough that he can kind of coach like a.
He's also a snack apparently. So there you go.
But he can like coach like an Adam Sandler type like kid to hold a gun, and like because that's usually in the Steve Buscemi movie, right? Like he's holding the gun and he manages to get the person like ransomed or whatever, and then all hell breaks loose because he doesn't know what to do from there.
Yeah. No, and I should say Steve Buscemi is such a good actor. I mean, he just simply actor chops. That guy nails it on the first take every time. I've never in my life more often said, okay, cut after take one, and thought to myself, I don't think there's anything else we need here, And sometimes I'd say to Steve, just do another one. That was perfect, but do another one so we have a choice in the cutting room, just in case, there are various things that just change. And he never, ever needed to be he never needed to work through a scene. And that scene with Adam, which I think is one of the funniest moments in the movie and really good. I just pointed a camera at them. I think the camera moves in on them while they're doing it. It's one take. We probably did 2 takes, and that was it, because they're both so good.
How much
and their chemistry is so good.
Like how that scene, I mean, like how much of that is because it's so Adam Sandler. Like there's 2 moments in there that are so Adam Sandler. There's number one, there's that Number two, there's there's the cop, there's the guy in Grandma's Boy, that's his friend, and he goes out and he's like doop, 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 doing the fucking Adam Sandler thing, and then runs back inside. Those two moments, I think, are just like the peak of like 90s Adam Sandler.
Yeah. I think all that stuff. I think the scene with Steve, where he coaches him to be a tough guy. I'm pretty sure that was scripted exactly with those words. I don't think there was any improv in the words. You'd have to go back and check the script. But Adam, of course, brings his whole flavor to it very much and really owns that. The scene where he's doing the imitation thing with the cop, that was a bit that we worked out really with his friend whose name escapes me. He's a great guy.
The Grandma's
we worked
Boy
that
guy.
out. Yeah,
aka Grandma's Boy guy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Who kind of vaguely looks like Mel Gibson, but
vaguely looks like Mel Gibson. He was a really good guy. He was one of Adam's buddies, and he was around the movie. We said, let's put him in the movie. But they worked that out there, while we were shooting it, and that was a lot of fun. Actually, I think Adam always felt like he didn't get quite enough opportunity to do his thing, that he did on SNL and that he did his stand-up. That he was playing a part more in this early part of the career. That's not really what he wanted to do. He wanted to be him. So it was,
You know what? I'm not gonna be mad at him helping his unemployed friends find work.
Apparently, Adam Sandler's newest film that I think stars his daughters is like his freshest, like on like Rotten Tomatoes, like at like 96%.
As we call it.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I'm like, he's actually having a moment right now. Like when he actually does some of these serious or heartwarming projects, it's like critics love it and audiences love it, and I'm like, good for him.
Well, we did Uncut Gems,
he's a
and
great
like
guy.
that's like a master class of stress, and he's amazing in it.
Yeah.
So this
And it was snubbed because people thought they knew what it was going to be, and they didn't watch it.
This
They're
gives
like,
me
oh,
a
it's an Adam
perfect
Sandler comedy.
excuse to bring this clip in that I found. Brendan Fraser and Adam Sandler kind of were having their moments at the same time, right? When he like returned with The Whale, so they were doing press, and I think
you mean Oscar winner Brendan Fraser, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
best.
So they were doing press. You could see that he's in the process of losing his whale weight in this clip, I think. But they had Adam Sandler. Yeah. I think he did that movie Hustle, and Brendan Fraser was doing press for The Whale. So they had them interview each other, and they talked about Airheads as like the first thing, like revisiting it.
Nice, that's
and
awesome.
They they name drop Michael Lehmann in here too, and
let's listen to it.
Time I hosted SNL before I did the monologue, Lauren walked up to me just before we went live, and he said, I don't do a very good, Lauren. He says, no, it's all about confidence. And then he just turned and walked away. Don't try and be funny. Just buy into the reality.
Believe in yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Brendan Fraser. How do you say it now?
Fraser.
I'm going to say Fraser anyway. Let me say Fraser. But I don't want it.
Nobody's ever got my name.
Brendan Fraser. See, it didn't sound right.
It felt good, though.
All right.
As long as they're saying it.
The bad hip's this side.
It's good hip now.
This is a bit better hip. You're right.
Improved.
Thank you. Thank you.
Improved knee.
You got your knee surgery how long ago? A year ago?
16. I think.
Oh, in 16, right. And you're moving like a champ.
Yeah.
No, you don't even think about it.
No pain.
When I first met Brendan Fraser, who we're talking, that's your full name, right? Brendan Fraser?
It's Fraser.
Fraser.
Thing you shave with a razor. You should try standing closer to it. I know.
I didn't even know this happened. This is 2 days. 2 days of not shaving. But Brendan, you were in a movie called Airheads. Remember when I discovered you?
Yes.
You were just a kid. Remember when Paulie discovered you and I stole you from Paulie and said, get on over here?
Is that how it shook out? Get out of here.
What went first, Airheads or Encino Man?
Encino Man.
See, and then I saw you and I was like, this guy shouldn't just be caveman. He should be in a band.
And I did not. And then what? Then you went to Michael?
Michael Lehmann was very against you. He was like, I don't get it. I don't see the caveman being in this movie. And I just said, he can do other shit.
Are you pulling my chain right now?
100%. And I eventually went to his house like 4 a.m. Woke him up, and he's like, "Who are you?" I said, "Never mind that, but just know that Adam Sandler ain't gonna be in Airheads unless old Fraser is in it." So he changed his little tune.
He flew out to Chicago to meet me.
I don't remember all that shit. I just remember the.
Well, he sang a different tune then. For whatever
he's a liar. He's a filthy liar. He didn't want you. I did, and the rest is pretty good. You had a good life, Cousin. Yeah, way to go. My pleasure, man. You kidding me? I was pulling for you. I kept saying, and Paulie Shore was against it. He kept saying, just in case we do Encino 2, I don't want him doing other shit. And I said, don't do that.
That's Paulie.
It's very.
Paulie wanted to be in Airheads.
He did. He wanted Arquette's part.
He did?
Of course he did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Scandalous.
Yeah, you know that's entirely not true, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you want to answer these scurrious?
Yeah,
but it's a great clip. You know, Michael Lehmann responds to Adam Sandler and Brendan Fraser.
Yeah,
Fraser.
Brendan was cast before Adam, so
that's which is why it's funny. Yeah,
yeah, and I did fly to Chicago to tell him, you know, Brendan, to talk to him and get him into the movie, and I wasn't even aware. I don't remember that Pauly Shore had any interest in the film. I didn't think he was right for our cast, and but you know, everybody on that movie did get along incredibly well. It was one of those unusual cases where, in fact, the ensemble of actors were all very friendly. They got and you know, Buscemi and Sandler are best friends to this day, and they met on that film, and you know, it was a really amazing group of people. But I saw that clip, you know, I was like, what? Are you kidding me? No, you never came to my house at 4 a.m. He was cast after Brendan was cast.
Immediately get to your Substack to go rebut it. Yeah.
No, but you know, I hoped that Brendan didn't think that was true, because
it seems like he did, but I mean, he's also
an Oscar-winning
actor.
He's also just in like Sandler world, you know. He's just getting along with a bit. You know?
But I'm saying, like, he's also an Oscar-winning actor, so I don't know what to believe. You know what I mean? Like, he's we got to pull up this super chat. This movie is an absolute classic, and then happy birthday to me, and for giving the extremely objectionable being Italian for today, which is good.
It's very, very generous of him. The Italian part I'm talking about, not the money. So, Michael, do you keep up with these guys at all? Like, have you kept up with any of the people in this film? There's a lot of them.
Besides their press run, of course.
You know,
of course. Yeah.
The not a whole lot, but you know, whenever we cross our paths, I mean, I run across Sandler every once in a while. He's always very fun to be around. And Buscemi, I run across him a fair amount. I never worked with these guys again, but it was all very friendly and happy. And Brendan, I had to send him a note when he won the Academy Award, or before that, when I saw the movie. You know, I stayed more in touch with them right in the years after the film.
Sure, yeah.
Then, I mean, you know, you have to realize this was over 30 years ago. It was a long time ago.
I was in high school, and like two of the people on this panel weren't born.
I was one.
Yeah, exactly.
It was baby.
I mean, it makes
Andy actually looked exactly the same, though.
Yeah,
it makes
Gray and all.
birthday film for me, because it's 1994, the same year I was born.
Yeah. But we were shooting it before that, probably shooting it in 93, I would think.
Yeah,
maybe we shot it early 94. I don't know. You know.
Yeah, it was my senior year of high school that I saw this in the theater. So there you go. That age.
Well, that's interesting.
This Brendan Fraser, Adam Sandler thing. They go on in this.
I know, I'm old.
They go on in this to say that it was like the best time they've ever been on a set.
Oh.
Yeah, they had fun.
Yeah, and it seems like in this crazy interview that, like, right after this verges into talking about George of the Jungle or whatever.
Wow, I forgot about that. Yeah,
which I guess was the role that Brendan Fraser did right after.
Yeah, sure was.
Yeah, we got to send one person out.
I'll go. One of the hostages, doof.
Sorry, but not me, man.
It's just too cool. You were the leader of the band.
Of the Lone Ranger.
The Lone Rangers. Rangers?
That was a joke in the movie.
Yes.
You pluralize.
That's right. The Lone Rangers. Do you remember the name of our song?
Yeah, Degenerated.
That's right.
I have a cassette at home, actual cassette of the demo that we did with Rob Zombie.
That's sick.
Serious.
That's sick.
I found it in a box of crap in my desk.
That was one of the best shoots of my life, without a doubt.
Wasn't it great?
It was the best.
Just up all night.
Yes, so many
for
night
weeks on
shoots.
end.
We would drive to the Fox lot, get there like around 4:30 or something.
Sun was
at
going
night.
down.
Sun's going down. We'd have our snacks, get into our clothes, do our scenes, and man, was that the best party of all time.
That's that plaza. It was the Die Hard.
The Die Hard. That's what we were so excited that they shot Die Hard there. We took it very serious. You took it very serious.
I did. I took myself very seriously.
But you took acting very serious ever since I know you. It's not like a light, fun movie, like just let's have a good time. You took every line, every scene. It meant a lot.
I remember watching you actually improvising on film, which was a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
No, because Lehmann would go, just, go. And
Really?
as long, and how much you left in the magazine? Oh, we got about 90 seconds. Okay, Adam, go.
Oh, that's funny.
It was thrilling to watch, because we take that kind of for granted now that things are digital and you can just turn on a light switch.
We shot on film, but I stuck mostly with what he told me to say.
Yeah.
It was good. Rich Wilkes wrote the script.
Rich Wilkes.
And we loved him. He was the only guy taller than you.
That's true. I think he was the real life Chaz Darby.
Yes.
The first day of work, he came up and he said, "Man, your hair looks awesome." They do for me, man.
What was it? A gluey wig?
Oh, yeah, it was gaff quad. I got my head shellacked
underneath
a wig, and then this thing screwed on, and then pins crossed over.
Oh,
it was a form
so it's a headache, guaranteed.
Guaranteed hat you cannot take off.
Right.
Plus headband.
Yes. Yeah. It was worth it. Yeah, you looked like 100% rock and roll.
And Steve did too. He had the sleeves.
Yeah.
He had a Betty Boop tattoo.
Yes, he did.
Sort of
That's
nudie.
right.
And every night before he went home to his 2-year-old Lucian, he would have it removed.
Yeah, he didn't want to scare his little boy. Daddy didn't get a tattoo while you were gone.
Well, not of a lady.
Not of a woman that's not mommy. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was sweet.
Some controversial truths in that clip. Apparently, being a wig is pretty traumatic for some folks in the chat.
Yeah. Everyone's like, no.
They were good. They were good wigs because you could not tell.
Yeah.
And they'd spend a lot of time every day in hair, getting that wig on.
Yeah, this is au natural chat. So don't worry.
Exactly. Don't worry, Andy does not wear a wig.
Correct.
Well, when he went on to the George of the Jungle right afterwards, and he also has the long hair. I mean, it's different. His bangs, I guess, kind of, but
right. White Zombie's in this film, but it wasn't originally White Zombie, was it? I think it was supposed to be Cannibal Corpse. Is that just internet?
Not that I remember, but it's possible. This was the thing where also they're coming to me saying, "These are the bands we can get. This is what we can do." And I don't remember anybody other than White Zombie for that. And I love those guys, and they were really. It was interesting. Rob was very quiet, and he just would sort of hang out on the set. He didn't really want to have anything to do with anybody. He was not unfriendly, but he was very quiet. And when he became a director later, I thought, wow, I wonder what he thought watching us make what was, essentially a regular straight ahead Hollywood kind of movie. I figure he must have learned a few things watching how it was done and probably had a good time, but he was in his own head a lot. Shauna, the bass player, and the guitarist, they were really cool, and they were more they were friendlier and more into just sort of hanging out and talking and that sort of thing while we were doing the work. But it was fun. And then to shoot them, they performed that song, and I kept saying, I can't understand a word that Rob is singing. I don't know what he's saying.
Well, then it's lucky it wasn't Cannibal Corpse, because you still wouldn't know.
Yeah, I
know. Because White Zombie sounds like Billy Joel by comparison.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but it's interesting because that's a good example of it being sort of like grounded in this music world, right? It's sort of like, especially at that time, that you have these aspirational dudes that are trying to like make something of themselves musically, and like to have not just like a made for the screen band, but have like a real band playing seems to be very important.
Yeah, we did a lot of, we went to a lot of the clubs and sort of in the scene on Sunset Boulevard and the whole sort of hair rock thing, just to make sure that we were being authentic, because it wasn't really my rock and roll scene. I was actually a few years ahead of that and didn't, I was like, yeah, I see these guys in LA, but these are not the concerts that I go to generally. And so we had a really good time doing a lot of research. There was an executive at Fox, a guy named Michael Lehmann, who is gone on to become a producer. He's a really good producer. He had been a music critic at one point. He was really, really into it. And Rich Wilkes was very, really into punk more than anything, but had, a lot of rock and roll interest. And so it was great to be with these guys and to learn about the bands and go and watch them and sort of say, okay, we're not going to betray the real spirit of what that rock scene was about. Even though, as somebody pointed out, that particular brand of rock and roll was already going out of fashion.
Right.
And, there were other things happening.
So two things. First of all, from the chat, phrase for days says Airheads is going to be 30 next year. Would have loved a 30th anniversary edition with directors and writers commentary and updated special features.
Yeah. Hey, but they don't, I don't know who makes those choices.
I don't know either.
It's Disney probably owns the film now because they got the library.
It would be Disney.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah. So wait, which one?
Fraser's got the hair.
Yeah, Brendan Fraser is the Disney princess in this movie. Those lips.
It's Judd Nelson's fucking executive character that's making the decisions. He's like,
that's right.
We need a 30th anniversary edition. Get those whoever that was in here right now.
Jimmy Wing.
I could just see the Disney executives being like, we need to change the line between like who's wrestling between God and Lemmy. We need to change it to Mickey.
Yeah.
right, exactly. Which, by the way, there was the Who would win in a wrestling match, Lemmy or God? And true question, Lemmy is God. And that's it was brought up. I'll throw it up here. That's Harold Ramis, right?
Yeah.
So making it total of 2 Ghostbusters that are in
That's
this
right.
film.
Yeah. Harold was a friend of mine and an amazing person and a comedy legend. So I knew Harold pretty well, and I said, hey, will you be in my movie? This movie's a lot of fun. I think you'd be great for this role. Yeah. And Harold loved to act. He was a great writer. He was a terrific director, but he loved to act. So all it took was asking him. Yeah, sure, I'll be happy to do it. When he came to set, everything stopped because all of the actors, all of these top comedians, you're talking Sandler and Farley and Michael Richards and Michael McKean, they're all suddenly, oh my God.
It's the guy from Stripes. Holy crap. Yeah.
Well, they all knew very much who Harold was and what he'd done.
Of course.
And so, and it was the Rodney Dangerfield golf movie. What?
Caddyshack?
Caddyshack, right. I mean, that was the epitome of great comedy for these guys. So Harold was treated like Lemmy, on the set.
Right.
How was Lemmy treated?
Lemmy. Lemmy is treated like Harold Ramis, actually. It's very wild. I mean, that's
how was Lemmy treated when he showed up on set?
He was treated like Harold Ramis.
Yeah, exactly.
He's treated very well.
You're like, Lemmy, who are you going to call?
I mean, my show,
Airheads.
Pratonica Versal, is literally named after a Ghostbusters reference. Of course, I'm a fan. But I'd actually forgotten that he has that. Honestly, like, one of the most memorable lines, right? To the point that like people almost like it's just entered like the zeitgeist in a way that people don't even necessarily know where it's from. That like Lemmy is God. Like I feel like anytime Motorhead is invoked.
I mean, remember when Lemmy passed away? That was like everybody's posts on Facebook, Twitter. It was just Lemmy is God.
I mean, I'm assuming that Rich came up with that. Rich Wilkes, by the way, you guys know he is. You should talk to him. He is a great guy, and
he co-wrote The Dirt, the
writer.
Motley Crue book, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
He's got a pretty interesting set of references. I mean, the Jerky Boys movie. I mean, For the younger people, there were these people called the Jerky Boys, and they did prank phone calls. ... I mean, whatever. But like, it was huge. Like that was like he was like very much like in the zeitgeist at the time, like in very weird ways.
Rich wrote Triple X. Do you remember that?
X.
Yeah, that was his original script, I believe. He's just a really cool person. He lives near me now. I see him every once in a while.
Nice.
He's extremely talented, and his sense of humor, all that stuff, everything. Whenever I watch Airheads, and I've only seen it a couple times in the last 30 years, but I watch it and I just think his script was so good. All the big laughs in the movie, they were in the script.
I feel like it takes balls too to like expect that this is going to get sold as a movie, right? Like to do it on spec and to be like, look, this is the script that I'm presenting to you guys. I know it's a little bit maybe like unorthodox to kind of do like a parody, but it's not like directly a parody of another like a classic movie, right? Like Dog Day Afternoon is like one of those movies that like frequently makes the AFI top 100 list or whatever. And like to be like, look, I'm trying to sell like a music version of this, and it's funny, but like that is what I'm trying to do. Like I feel like that takes balls on spec.
It did. But it was such a good concept, It really did. You heard the pitch, and it was like, oh, okay, that's a movie that could work. And so I think they brought me a script, which I read, and the script was great. I remember reading it and going, oh yeah, this is a movie. I'd love to do this film, but. It had been developed, he had to pitch it, I guess, at some point, or write it on spec and deal with all these people who, they were also trying to sort of reduce the intensity factor of this movie. It was the original script was much edgier. It was much better in that regard. But in order to get it made at Fox, because they ended up owning it, we had to fight with them tooth and nail for everything in the film, because they would have turned it into, they wanted it to be the mildest version of this movie possible.
How do you feel about the Steve Buscemi? Like I found this interesting reading up on because there's like a thing that's like a oral history of Airheads. There's the neck tattoo, right, that Steve Buscemi was going to have, and they were like, oh well, you can't have a neck tattoo in like a mainstream movie. I feel like now just celebrities just walk around with neck tattoos and nobody thinks anything of it.
It was a different world then, and my memory was that it was Sandler who had the neck tattoo, but it could have been Steve. The thing is, we had to present everything, all wardrobe choices, all the hair choices, all the tattoos, all that kind of stuff had to be presented to the studio to be approved. And normally those things are just automatically approved. It's a formality. But in this case, Peter Chernin had just moved over to take over the part of Fox that was making movies. He took over the movie division after helping create the Fox TV division. So Peter, who I really like, and is a good guy, very smart,
God damn it. Continue, Peter, Michael. Never look at the comments.
Okay.
Never look at the comments. They're very funny, but it'll break your concentration every time.
I'm lost now. He'd come out of television, and in television, there's a lot more supervising.
Take it off.
A lot more supervising of those sort of things. And Peter came back and said, no tattoos at all. And
it's on screen the entire time.
Yeah. So anyway, it was a big fight, and we couldn't win the neck tattoo part of it. And now, of course, it means nothing. But back then,
it was completely meaningless. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
now you have like Pete Davidson. Like you walk
right, exactly.
His neck more tattooed than
He's got a tattoo of Hillary Clinton.
I know that's a weird.
And that's why Ariana Grande broke up with him.
Wow. That's information I didn't need to know, but okay, there you go.
But I was going nuts, saying like, have you guys ever actually seen Rock and Rollers? Have you ever looked at what these people look like?
Yes.
You can't have them not have tattoos.
Yeah.
And there was a big thing about whether Brendan's character could wear leather pants or not. And I was like, I can't tell you all the battles we had.
That it's so inane.
Over leather pants?
Over leather pants?
Well, people
which clearly are a crowd pleaser based on our comments alone.
Thank
you.
People make fun of the.
Hold on, Kristina, go ahead. Yeah,
I'm just saying, like leather pants were like a thing that it was either ripped denim jeans or like leather pants
and bandanas, just like this.
Yes,
just like Jay Andrew over there.
The neck tattoo thing though is still kind of like a joke that like rappers nowadays especially will like get like a neck tattoo and it's like, dude, I hope it works out for you because you know what I mean? Like still like that's
the bank's gonna not look so kindly on that. Yeah,
well that's just like the one place that jobs like still, I mean, face tattoos and neck tattoos are like that's still the thing that like jobs will not hire you. So like it's like commitment, right? It's like because you've dashed your prospects a lot of the time for, you know, other types of work if you have that. Which kind of
there's no backup plan.
Yeah, which kind of makes it perfect for like an Adam Sandler character in this, who, you know, is kind of just like walking around the house, fucking jerking off in his tighty whities all day or whatever. And it's like this, but like the rock and roll thing better work out because like that's not you're not like else. Even in like a grocery store, they're probably not. You know what I mean? Like they're not like I don't know if we want you to bag our groceries. Even.
Right. From the comments, I think this is actually a very good question. It should be a super chat, but so much done in one take. Does that mean no outtakes from Da-na-na-na? Oh, like the Da-na-na-na. Okay, cool.
It means very, very few outtakes. If it generally, this is the thing. You know, you generally don't just do one take. Because there's always the possibility that, I mean, in the days when you shot film, you didn't do one take because the film could be scratched. There could be something that go wrong. You didn't actually see it until the next day, till it was processed. And even today with digital, where you could play it right back and you know that it's never going to disappear. I mean, somebody could erase it, but, you know, generally it's safe. What happens is when you get in the cutting room, there are different little, very subtle rhythmic variations in every take. And sometimes one of them just feels better in context than it did even when you were shooting. And so I like to do 2 takes. If everything is great, I'm still going to do 2 takes. But, you know, Clint Eastwood is famous for just doing one sometimes. You know, he's just, we got it, that's it. I don't need any others. But some directors, you know, Fincher and Stanley Kubrick did this. Fincher will do like 30 takes. A lot of directors will do just tons and tons of takes.
Yeah. Well, the next movie we're talking about on Friday, Possession, is a movie that I think there was so like I think that it was torture, the amount of takes that some of the scenes in that movie, like the scene where she's in the subway fucking having the miscarriage, like the amount of takes that I would imagine went into that scene is I don't even want to think about it. Like
that's the 81 Possession, by the way, Michael, the one with Sam Neill. Like this is basically absolute insanity almost the entire time. Like it's like I mean. And yet it's tame compared to Under the Silver Globe, so that tells you what you think you know about that guy.
But in lower budget movies, especially when you shot film, you did not have you couldn't do very many takes because film was expensive and processing was expensive, and it's not so much the case now with digital. It's time on set, so you can only do so many.
Film costs money, baby. That's right,
film costs a lot of money.
Also,
film costs money, baby. Uncle Alligator.
It's film costs money, baby.
Clint Eastwood is known for doing like one take. Or like one or 2 takes. But the problem is that when I watched Jersey Boys, you know, the film based on the musical, I was like, and I know a lot of the people that were in the movie personally, and I was like, this movie could have benefited from like a few takes.
Yeah.
Because it was just no
because there's environmental factors, right? There's things that like maybe have nothing to do with the performance, but it's just like, oh, you know, like the light was weird here or something. You know, like who knows? Like
Clint Eastwood could have benefited from another take when he yelled at that chair and pretended it was Obama. I feel like that.
But also like Lord of the Rings.
Got him.
You know, Peter Jackson would do like 14 takes of a scene, and like you know, and Christopher Lee's just like. I thought I nailed it on the first take. You know, I get the second take, but
I don't think that's a very good Christopher Lee impression.
No, it's not supposed to be. But
that's what people come to this show for.
Yeah. No, I don't. Christopher Lee's not what I do impersonations of. I'm sorry.
That's on your A-list, Andy. Of impersonations you do.
If it was Sean Connery, on the other hand, who's also known for only doing like one take, it's like, you want me to do another take?
Yeah,
I could do Bane, and that's about it.
There you go, folks. Okay, make sure to like and subscribe for more of this premium content. Yeah. So okay. So I think that there's a few things that we didn't get to. I know we're going to do the Letterboxd one-liners relatively soon, which was a really good time. Of course, Michael, when you were on for Heathers, you were a good sport of that. We got some good stories out of it. But before that, we barely mentioned Chris Farley.
Yeah.
In here, and
R.I.P.
He's got like a pretty memorable role, but like also like I had kind of forgotten he was in this. Like, oh, Chris Farley.
Oh, so I have a clip of continuing from this Adam Sandler, Brendan Fraser thing where they're talking about Chris Farley being on set and raiding the crafts table possibly, but also I guess being on a diet, and I don't know.
All right, let's find out together.
Good. And Farley, remember Farley was in the movie?
Yeah.
And Farley, he terrorized the craft service truck. But I think we actually, when we shot that movie, Farley was on a diet. So he was like a little calm. He was a little calmer on the craft service than you had, but I definitely destroyed that thing.
I loved him.
Absolutely. We had fun together. I think he shot like maybe 2 weeks and we all hung out.
Yeah.
Nighttime. Man, that was probably the most fun I ever had on a movie. All of us were young.
We jumped off the parking structure.
Buddy, that was incredible.
Did crowd surf.
Now, this is the truth on that jump.
Yeah.
We jumped off the thing, landed on a mat maybe 15 feet below us, right? Not that big of a stunt. I thought for sure I could handle that. I landed in such a stiff way that I heard my neck go. I heard everything, but I didn't want to.
You don't say anything about it.
I couldn't say anything because I would be humiliated. You two guys got up laughing, you and Buscemi. I was like, I'm supposed to laugh.
You collapsed your neck backwards.
It was awful.
You didn't turn into it.
I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I was never a gymnast. I would go on the trampoline at the Jewish Community Center growing up. Saw everyone else do well on it. I had the same thing happen to my neck on that thing when I was like 9. I'm not good at jumping and landing on my back.
Don't do that.
I gotta stop.
Me, okay?
Yes.
The guy who smashed into trees for a living.
Yeah, that's true. You went on to do so many. You went on, first of all, to leave Airheads and then get very jacked for George of the Jungle. I was disappointed how good you looked in that. You weren't supposed to do that to us. You were supposed to remain like
the wardrobe was that there was no wardrobe.
Yes.
George eats bananas and swings around all day and wears a long coat.
You did right by the character, but you did wrong by us, man. You made us feel bad about ourselves.
Amazing. Love it. Hold on. This always bothers me. There we go. Okay. First of all, like, what a great rapport those two dudes have, right? I mean, and it's considering how differently their careers have gone. Like it's nice to be able to see.
It's like when you see like almost like a couple after a relationship like 30 years later, they still have chemistry. You're like,
Yeah.
Wow.
By the way, the craft service on that movie was exceptional.
Really? So
yes,
it
was exceptional.
So it was
and
like torture for Chris
did
Farley.
Like 3 weeks of nights without, all the stuff outside on the, Nakatomi Plaza stuff. That was all done over the course of about 3 weeks. And so we all went on a night schedule. And what would happen is at midnight, the craft service guy would put a turkey in a smoker. So there would be a freshly smoked turkey. And you'd go, oh my God, I can't believe this. And, we're working these crazy hours. And so you come in and eat. And I do remember catching, I think it was Sandler and Buscemi once, they were giggling like crazy at craft service. And I said, what are you guys so happy about? And they're like, started giggling. And I said, wait a minute. Have you been, so you guys are saying completely straight for this shoot, right? And they're laughing. And I was like, oh shit. I'm like dad catching the kids smoking pot.
Smoking some jazz cigarettes. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, whatever they were doing. But they were definitely having a good time. And the food was really good.
That's good.
So, and
those
Farley
things go hand in hand.
Yeah, Farley was very much on the wagon. He had a couple guys with him who were making sure that he didn't drink and also that he didn't eat too much, because he'd be the first one to tell you. He said, I can't control myself. I just can't do it. He was an extremely good-natured person, the sweetest person you'd ever be around, and unbelievably talented. So all the comedy stuff with him, I mean, his face and his physicality were really something. It was really awesome to watch and to work with. But he was the sweetest guy in the world. But he'd just tell you, I can't control myself. I need somebody to tell me, just don't do this. And he was good on the shoot, but he was struggling still.
How did he get cast in this? Like, did Adam Sandler kind of bring him in and say, "Hey, is there a role for?"
I got another friend for you to hire.
No, I mean, I think that these guys, these were the gold standard if you could get them in the movie. I don't think Chris had done the Tommy Boy or any of the other movies yet. So he was Adam's good friend. But they were also all represented probably by the same agents, and we just go, can we get him in here? That role seemed like a natural for Chris.
Well, it was like they were in their like SNL stardom at this point, right? Like this was like right at the height of that. Like there's the clip that I found with like Opera Man or whatever, right? Like that's the thing that Adam Sandler is most known for, his tenure at SNL, and it's like
playing the guitar.
It's the most
singing.
90s. It's the most 90s thing you can really,
Yeah. He would come to set with his guitar, and between setups, he would serenade us with his songs. Lunch Ladyland and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And
it would be very funny if
everybody laughs. So
they finally play their song and it's like the Thanksgiving song or whatever, or like the Hanukkah song. It's like
This is and for Farley, I think it's like next year that's like Tommy Boy and then Black Sheep after that, if I'm remembering correctly. Like, I mean, he was sort of like, he was already like, pretty kind of like, oh my God, that guy, Chris Farley.
I love Tommy Boy.
And the same thing with Sandler and Billy Madison, right?
Right, that was my follow-up, is that like, and he wasn't the only one, which, right? And it's crazy that like, it seems like those guys were already had things lined up that were going in their favor, but this is kind of an unwritten part of history, this movie, like as far as that goes, with like late 90s comedy, right? It's notable, which is why I was super glad that Forrest hit upon the casting, because I know that there's a few things. My understanding, and Michael, if you can let me know if this is true or not, Kristina Applegate was considered for the role of Kayla. Is that correct?
Yeah, she was. She
looks a lot like
turned us down.
She looks a lot like the actress that ended up getting picked.
Amy Locane. Yeah, they're both very attractive.
That was after she did Cry Baby.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. The other rumor is that John Cusack was also considered for the role of Chaz.
When I first came on board for the movie, I was told that Cusack was going to play Chaz.
That's a very different movie, by the way.
It's a very different movie. and I said, okay, but we all loved Cusack. I mean, back then he was would have been a great choice. And I mentioned this to a friend of mine, and they said, "Oh, you mean Cusack, the guy who says yes to everything and doesn't do it?"
Ooh.
And I said, "Oh, really?" And they said, "Yeah." They said, "You know." You're going to have a hard time getting Cusack to actually commit.
Yeah.
And so I was in for the movie. It didn't matter. I knew we could cast this. And I remember I had a conversation with Cusack, and it was like, no, I'm not, he was doing another movie and he wasn't ready to commit. And I came back from that and said, I don't think this is going to work. We should be looking for somebody else. And we went to Brendan, I'm pretty sure, right after that. I don't remember any search beyond that.
I don't. It's just a different movie without Brendan Fraser, is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, and part of it's like his presence, part of it's literally his height. But like, if you're having like when it's like, no, this guy is the objective leader of this band. Like, that's the dude. It's got to have someone that has some presence, right? So, and especially like at this time. I think it's a different movie entirely. And John Cusack's he's running hot. Like, I think he does Gross Point Blank or something like next year, right? I mean, he's doing great. He's a great actor. It's just so different.
It makes a lot of sense watching the interview where Adam Sandler's talking about how seriously Brendan Fraser took this role, because
Right.
as much as he's kind of like this pretty funny, like kind of pathetic character that's like, rebranded himself in this movie, it doesn't, like, he is the straight man. I mean, like even Steve Buscemi, who kind of is known for bringing like a level of comedy to like a, to like more of a straight performance. Like, it's Brendan Fraser that holds it together as the straight man to the other two.
He's the straight man to Joe Mantegna. Can I just like appreciate that for a moment? And I love Joe Mantegna. Like, I love all the stuff he did with Mammoth. Like, I mean, he's an incredible actor. He can do anything. Very funny role, maybe the funniest Joe Mantegna role that he's ever done. But yeah, he's a straight man to Joe Mantegna. Amazing.
Yeah, that was an interesting casting, because people came in and auditioned, and I really wanted Joe because he was a great actor. He'd done all these, and I said nobody would ever think of putting Joe Mantegna in this role. It's like, that is totally not what anybody would expect. And Joe came in and auditioned, and he may not have auditioned. He may have just come in for a meeting, but he told me that he had been in an ad for an amplifier, for a guitar amplifier, that I remembered as a kid seeing in Crawdaddy magazine, which was an alternate to Rolling Stone, if you remember. And I can't remember the name of the amplifiers, but they had like a rainbow as part of their logo. It was some shitty amplifier that was being promoted then. And it was Joe who was in the ad. And I said, is that really you? And he goes, yeah, that's me. And I went back. I think I had issues of this in my closet and at home. And I found the ad. And sure enough, there's Joe Mantegna with this big dome of black hair. and so I thought, okay, he's got some sort of rock and roll credibility. And I went to the studio, and they did not want to cast him. They were suggesting Robert Wool for some reason. Do you remember Robert Wool? Does that name mean anything?
Yeah. Wasn't he in Batman?
He was in Batman.
He was the reporter, Knox.
Exactly.
Arliss.
And I think he had an HBO show.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah. Wow. Okay, that's a different.
Right.
That's a different vibe
And
entirely.
he's a good actor.
Oh, he's great.
I'm like, okay, but I don't want him. And Kevin Spacey came in and auditioned.
Bull Durham. That's right. He's been in a lot of stuff. Yeah.
And when Kevin Spacey auditioned, it was really interesting because he came in and he gave a really good audition. And he said to me, "You're an idiot if you don't cast me." I mean, it was sort of like
sounds exactly like him.
Yeah. One of the most aggressive moves I'd ever seen from an actor. And he was right. I didn't, no question about that. But I thought, this guy scares me because I don't think.
Little did we know.
Ensemble, I think the ensemble cast. No, it has nothing to do with whatever happened later. Seriously, I mean, it was just he had this intensity.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's not going to be. I don't think that's going to work with all the actors that I want to put in this film. You have to think about how the ensemble is going to work.
It'd be incongruous. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I thought if he scares me in an audition, then he's going to intimidate all the other actors. And I don't think that's good because that character needed to be actually very warm in a funny way, because he's the one who gets them. So I won the battle on Joe Mantegna, which is great because Joe was terrific. He's also a really, really good actor.
He's great at comedy as well, too. Because
he's great at comedy.
So for people, again, okay, for Simpsons fans, Fat Tony. That's Joe Mantegna, right? Yeah. He's done 100,000 other things, but he will forever, to a certain segment of the population, be like, oh yeah, mobster dude from The Simpsons, right?
Yeah.
But like, he's very versatile. And again, like someone that was very much in David Mamet's sort of baseball team, right? Much like how Kevin Spacey got like a big boost when he was in Glengarry Glen Ross a couple years earlier than this movie, which is crazy to think about, right? But it's just such a different world. But he's coming from that like super that Mamet-esque world, and before that meant neoconservative.
Yeah, yeah. No, that was a different iteration of Mamet, but
yes.
Also Michael McKean. We should talk about Michael McKean because
who plays it absolutely straight in this, which is kind of, I mean, like I guess it's not as incredible to watch now that he's like done Better Call Saul, where he literally is in like a dramatic role and kind of plays that perfectly. But like it like looking at his older like comedy stuff, right? Like it's kind of incredible how straight he plays it in this movie, and how unlikable he plays it in this movie too.
Yeah. Well, he knew who the character was. And he got a kick out of the fact that, he was a Spinal Tap member.
He was in Spinal Tap!
Yeah. And so here he's doing this very different role. He's such a good actor. I mean, he is just, he's amazing.
He's a great version of that guy. And we all know what I mean when I say that guy.
Yeah.
My first thought, though, with pulling a gun out on Michael McKean is fucking just yelling, Chuck! Chuck! He's got a gun! Chuck! I don't know. I feel like the caliber of stuff that he brought to, like, just being the most unlikable character on a show full of unlikable characters on Better Call Saul is just incredible. Like,
he ate it up, man. He ate it up on that show. Credit.
He really did. It was amazing.
Yeah. He pulls out the line where he's like, "This is chicanery," and they're like mocking him behind his back later on because he's having like the mental breakdown.
So I think Andy, Kristina, unless you two have anything else, I think
I got one quick question, because right after this movie, a movie had the exact same plot, Empire Records came out. Did you see it at the time, and did you have any thoughts on it?
I didn't see it.
You're not missing anything.
That's fun. You ain't missing anything.
No, but I mean,
soundtrack's good. I mean, I'll give it that.
Soundtrack is good. Yeah.
So people say you should see this movie because it's just like a movie you made. I go, well, then maybe I shouldn't see it because it'll make me feel weird. So I never saw it.
No, there's always that carbon copies. Like one movie comes out and then someone makes like another copy. I'm worried that's what's going to happen with like Barbie, because Mattel's like, let's do Uno
toys.
and toys and stuff like that. And I'm just like,
and the 9/11 Jenga movie.
To be fair to Empire Records, to be fair to Empire Records, I think it's more like a Deep Impact Armageddon kind of thing, where it just happens to be like two real similar scripts coming out at the same time.
Also, I will say this. So I got I got my laptop up and the stream going, and so I scroll down, and the first thing that pops up in the algorithm is Die Hard.
So was that like a bonus that it was there, or was that was there like some concern about that? I mean, it's
I'm just like, oh, wait a minute, it's like
no, for Michael, not for you. The
internet just knows.
No, we thought it was. I thought it was really funny.
It's awesome.
We were looking for locations for where the recording studio could be and all the stuff. I mean, we had there were a lot of things that location had to provide. They had to be able to go on the roof to have a concert. So automatically, I remember looking at building after building after building in LA, and it was like, well, they can't really do a concert here, and it doesn't make sense, and it's not going to be good. And then at some point we said, well, but there's this place right here on the Fox lot that is iconic already as a location, and it's here, and Fox, can get access to it.
Sure,
it's literally Fox Plaza,
we
right?
did a bunch of work on the facade of the place to turn it into the radio station, but and we had to occupy that thing for 3 weeks because it was a whole lot of stuff that was shot there with the crowds forming and all the stuff that happened. So, and it was also confusing because we shot the interior part first, so it was that puzzle was a little complicated.
Got to fit it all together somehow and make it not look like it's two different movies.
Right, but so. First of all, it lent itself so well. Second of all, it was a great inside joke, sort of a meta thing that it was the Die Hard building. And also we had Michael Richards crawling through the air conditioning ducts. So we even had a big deal Die Hard reference.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes. No, he sets himself on fire, which was so funny.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's perfect. It's perfect. Just like Kramer in the wall. Like there's a Kramer in the wall kind of thing. Like
I mean, I think that's that's it. If you're gonna, it works in a way that if you know, right? Where you're like,
Yeah,
I know what that
yeah.
location is. It's like, I mean, to a lesser degree, but like with The Third Man, when you see that like that area with like the Ferris wheel, oh, I know exactly what that is. You know?
Yeah.
And certain other people that make movies know that as well, and they throw it in there because why wouldn't you? Fantastic. So Michael, you've been on the show before. This is the period of the show where we talk about Letterboxd, the social media site for film, where people talk at with each other about the movies that they love, maybe the movies they didn't love. Mostly on this movie, the movies they were incredibly thirsty for. I'm not kidding, Michael. We've done The Handmaiden on this show, and then like there was more thirst posts about this movie than there was about The Handmaiden, which blows my mind.
Yeah, good.
So there you go. Very thirsty. It's, you
By the way, Letterboxd now does directors respond to Letterboxd like.
Yeah, it's my bid, but they just stole
it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, thanks to Pantslode, everyone. Yeah. Oh, no respect. But of course, all this is best expressed succinctly. You know, you don't want to. It's not a feature length. It's a short. You keep it tight. You work on your tight 5, and I collect all these as a public service. I certainly don't get paid for it for everybody, so that we can put them on the screen and talk about it and react to them. So these are the Letterboxd one-liners for Airheads. Let's go. I choose to believe this is what the French Revolution was like.
I mean, the chaos of the thrown together nature of it definitely is what the French Revolution was like.
Well, the only difference is that the French Revolution was on my birthday and that Airheads is on Forrest's birthday.
All right.
That's the only difference?
Yeah, that's the only difference.
Okay, fair enough. Movies need to go back to being silly antics carried out in a single day, and where are they now slide at the end? I can back that.
Yeah.
By the way, this must be the last time that anybody ever got 3 months for holding a building hostage. You know, the 1994 crime bill passed like a few months.
Definitely
later.
pre 9/11.
Right, different world.
Right, it's literally like a few months before mass incarceration, and they're like, you know what, we'll go lenient on these 3 very Guns N' Roses looking white guys.
Yeah, exactly. There's a credit for masturbating rocker. Enough said. That's Stuttering John, isn't it? Yeah, Stuttering John Melendez,
who's on the
Howard
soundtrack.
Stern show. That's right.
Yeah.
That's I was hoping you'd throw in on that because I didn't realize that until I heard it brought up on the Howard Stern show 100,000 years ago when it was, whatever. Anyway,
there's so many way more famous rockers in that crowd that are just like weighing in on this band right before they fucking play their song, because like Lemmy's in the crowd, like it's just like a crowd full of rockers around a radio station that, you know.
Yeah, we were hoping you wouldn't notice.
Fantastic. Well done. Great delivery. There's a Kramer in the walls.
That's my favorite Dr. Seuss book.
It's just a statement of fact, and he did set himself on fire. That is true.
He also like has a gun at one point, and then the gun just starts firing all over the place. Like...
Yeah, it's like if Die Hard was a spoof. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah,
it's which we don't need a whole movie of that. Like those scenes are enough.
Yes.
Enough.
What the hell is going on in there, Kramer? And he's like, "It's Die Hard, Jerry."
Good, very good. This takes place in the fucking Beavis and Butthead universe.
Yes.
Can we talk about that?
Well, so right, Beavis and Butthead call in, and that was I was on the fence about that because it sort of broke reality a little bit, but we kind of couldn't resist. And Mike Judge came to set, which was great, and hung out and kind of observed for a couple days or a day. I can't remember how long he was there. And then he did, I remember I was sent the cassette tape of him doing the Beavis and Butthead voices for the call-in. And I had to select the takes. And I couldn't believe how funny each and every one of his takes were. They were all different. He was so good.
Yeah, I didn't actually realize it was him. Like,
no, it's
was him.
absolutely him. It's 100%.
was
I mean,
him.
people used to love doing the Beavis and Butthead voice, and some people were like,
sure,
extremely good at it.
Yeah,
No,
and I
he
think, and like,
could do it better than anybody.
and I think too, this also
It's really
like
good.
you know really helps set this in that '90s period because like this movie's about metalheads, and you know who are Beavis and Butthead, but the ultimate metalheads.
Yeah, and like iconic amongst rock and roll people to this day.
Yeah.
Yes,
at least in my camp.
It's very funny to like see fucking Steve Buscemi get pissed off at them too. Like,
He gets so mad. Yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah, fuck off, you guys. Like,
Yeah.
Well, and it's all because it's also like, you know, I know people that were on that show as the subject of what they was being, we'll just charitably say, discussed, and some of them take it with a lot of humor and really like it. Some people don't. And I'm not going to name names, but it's pretty funny to me. I'm like, huh? Yeah, tell me more. Like, I'll kind of wind them up a little bit. Oh, yeah, Beavis and Butthead, though. Fuck Beavis and Butthead. Okay.
as if they're real people.
As if they're real people. It's a cartoon. It's a cartoon, people. Like,
Those
after all these
motherfuckers.
years. Exactly. Tag yourself. I'm the girl that flirted with Adam Sandler while being held hostage.
Which, by the way, there's a line when they say they're shutting down they're turning it into the rain or whatever, right? Like the soft rock studio, and that girl's just like, I keep so many blowjobs, and she just
Oh
says
yes,
that
right.
really
Yes. So many blowjobs for nothing or whatever, you know. Yeah. That's Nina Shamasko. She's awesome.
She's great.
She's great. She's so good in that role.
Kristina, I'm so sorry. Chaz is greater than Eddie Munson.
Uh-huh.
It's Maria Castro, not my the opinions of Maria Castro are not the opinions of Movie Extravaganza. Christina, Michael, that's funny because Christina is a Eddie Munson fan of Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
okay.
this is what you might call an in-joke, I suppose.
Okay.
Yes. At least he can play Master of Puppets on guitar in real life.
You saying Chaz can't? How do you know that? Right.
Yeah.
Well, we did see it.
Fair enough. That's maybe that's going to be in the Criterion edition. I am rock and roll.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You think
It's
you're
also
rock
my
and roll? Oh yeah, it's very funny in the Brendan Fraser voice too, right? Like, because he has that like interesting deep voice where even when he's like kind of goofy, he's like pulling it off, and he's like, I am rock and roll.
Like when he says penis, it's like,
Yeah.
penis. But you believe it.
That was scripted. That was spelled
it?
in the script PENNIS. And I remember talking to Rich and saying, so he's supposed to say penis, right? And Rich was like, yeah, that's the joke. So, okay.
Okay. All right. There you go. The only Adam Sandler movie where he looks like the best smelling character.
Really?
Okay.
That's interesting.
I don't know.
I mean,
if you like
at
the
least
smell
out
of
of-
chlorine,
Out of the three of them, right? Like everyone else in the studio, I mean, like in the radio station, maybe not, but out of the three of them, he definitely looks like he smells the best.
Your Honor, these three were simply goofing around.
Yeah.
As I said, it's the last year you can get away with that defense. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why they got 3 months.
The goofing around defense, as it henceforth was known in legal circles. Those are the Letterboxd one-liners for Airheads. Please follow the third Ranger. Oh man, I can't do it in this view. He's over there. Forrest, Airheads is a diehard sequel. Miller, he's representing the show. All the stuff that we cover on this show, he's logging. You can follow him on there. Of course, I'm Conan.
Still a chance to give super chats for my birthday. You know,
Still his birthday, as it turns out.
Yeah.
So give him some money, you cheep bastards.
I need money. I have $17 in my bank account right now. Help me, please. I'll suck your dick. Help me.
Wow, this show took a turn.
Wow. Okay.
I'm just going to dance away from that. Of course, I'm Conan Neutron. I am rock and roll, and I am also on Letterboxd.com, logging all the highbrow, the midbrow, the populous fare, doing the Criterion Challenge. Almost done with it, frankly. So follow me along for all that if you feel so inclined. And you get me opining about this, that, and the other thing. Just watch the Super Mario Brothers movie, by the way. Pretty good.
That was on the Criterion Challenge list.
It was not on the Criterion Challenge, I'm aware of.
Okay.
It will be. It will be then.
Yeah. You know what I liked about it? It was 90 minutes. That's the correct length for a movie like that.
That's correct.
90 minutes.
It's kind of it's disappointing the one that was on the list that's less than that. I feel like 87 minutes is too short for Frances Ha. I feel like it could have benefited from 10 more minutes of her looking at the camera and being like, you know, when you're across the room from someone, you know it's that thing, and you know that, and they know it, and like, I don't know, just drunk Greta Gerwig could have had 10 more minutes of her rambling.
Look, I'll watch 10 more hours of it. I'm fine with it. I love Greta Gerwig. J. Andrew, World War IX, wants to know if you have any nude pictures of B. Arthur, and if you do, attempt to share with him on Letterboxd as he watches all of the weirdest stuff, so you don't have to, or maybe so you can. It's not for me to judge. I don't know.
The line in this though with Judd Nelson walking in and going, "B. Arthur, nice," or something.
Yeah, I think outstanding. I think.
Yeah.
And no reaction necessary, no explanation given. No, it's
that's like peak like executive of like a company that's trying to fucking like, you know what I mean, like suck off a prospective client or whatever. Something weird's happening. They're like, outstanding, absolutely, yes.
Anyway, so he's watching a whole bunch of weird stuff, Andy. That's the point of that, is that he's doing that on Letterboxd. So follow him on there if you feel so inclined. Airheads are out of control, and Kristina Oakes is out of control on Letterboxd in the way that she barely posts on it. But every once in a while she does, so please follow her if you feel so inclined, and we can wait for the latest musing on high, like Guru from the Mountain. You know, the musings come down.
By the way, if you type in making of Airheads, the first thing you get is they're like, here's a tour of a candy factory.
I just had Mike Hard from God Bullies on, the legendary noise rock band God Bullies. But because his name is Mike Hard and now there's Mike Hard's Lemonade, if you do any search for Mike Hard, it's always Mike Hard's Lemonade every time. And I feel so bad for this guy that was like, no, you're like a genre-defying front person who was like giving all of this like joy to music lovers throughout the years, and there's some dumb alcoholic lemonade. Not even a beer. It's an alcoholic lemonade that like has hijacked your name.
It's fine. It doesn't get you buzzed or anything.
And we can make an Airheads reference. The machine ate Mike Hard. The machine ate Mike Hard. There you go.
There you go. There you go. And of course, J. Andrew. J. Andrew World, please take us away with the plugs. I'm still looking at the B. Arthur quote, and I laugh. I can't not laugh. That's one of the. That's
I can't not laugh.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it was a great line.
Like if you're watching us on YouTube, send pictures of B. Arthur. If you're watching us on Twitch, send pictures of B. Arthur. You know?
We'll accept super chats, but send pictures of B. Arthur.
Patreon, believe it or not, actually takes nude pictures of B. Arthur, so it's great.
It's legal currency in some countries. I hear.
But if you are watching us on YouTube, do the YouTube things: like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell, and of course the big ask. Watch the video to the end. That allows us to be discovered by other movie fans, and that allows you to hear that great Conan Neutron song at the end. If you're over on Twitch, do the Twitch things. Throw us a sub. If you happen to have an Amazon Prime account, please subscribe. That doesn't cost you a penny, and that actually helps us out a great deal, especially for Forrest's birthday, so he can buy himself something nice.
Buy yourself something nice.
Buy yourself something nice. Exactly. Uncle Alligator's in the house, apparently.
Find us on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course now Blue Sky. So look out for us all on those places and find us with all our weird hijinks that we're having on those websites.
He's not lying. They are weird. Michael, do you need a Blue Sky invite? I got one. You can be on.
Yeah, send it to me.
All right.
It's
cool.
it's Blue Sky. I feel like it just needs the spark, right? Like it needs more people to be on it and just be like.
I got 2 invite codes and people are just not getting them now.
Well, you should offer them on air to our guests, like I do, apparently.
Yeah.
But you know what? Forrest did it first.
Well, I've given them the chat. I've been like, anyone need a Blue Sky?
At least I'm giving to a guest. He gave them to fans. Anyway, Andy.
Hey, if you want to be a fan of me, Uncle Alligator.
Uncle Alligator, bluesky.com.
We should actually make an Uncle Alligator account.
Why not?
But yeah, we have a Patreon, and over there at the Patreon, you can get access to things like our after parties that we're going to have up there forever. And
God.
of course,
they're on there forever.
It does take,
they're behind a paywall. Don't worry, no one's looking.
Yeah, they're behind a paywall, so you can send those B. Arthur pics. It's okay. Don't worry, people. It's okay.
No, that's where you can send the.
Yeah,
I think that you'll be more B. Arthur pics there.
Yeah, it's like nothing but like it's our B. Arthur only fans.
We're gonna workshop this material.
Kristina, you don't have to. You don't have to do that.
Kristina, you're on the show.
I'm coming in with quite a bit of money these days.
All right, wow! Don't brag.
All the dogs sitting, all the dogs sitting, house sitting, cat sitting. I have to be at the house with the cat. It's just weird.
Fish sitting.
She's got that B. Arthur OnlyFans money.
Yeah, but you know what? I do completely understand with the cats needing extra love because we have a very special cat upstairs who was desperate whenever anybody leaves the house. But Conan, you have a show. It's called Platonic Reversal. We talked about it during the show.
Yeah, it's a Ghostbusters reference.
Yes.
Also entering year 10. It's a crazy.
Oh,
congratulations.
Conan Neutron.
That's right. Goddamn right you are.
She's like, there's a ghost. I'm not being
that's
any
not
part
my
of
department. Oh no, that's not me. No,
yeah, you can't call Jason either.
Now, is the ghost caterwauling? Because if it's not, I have nothing to say.
It's not my department.
Is it in your van? No, it's not in your van. What can I really do? Is it haunting a guitar?
I could open it up, take a look. I don't know. I can see. All right, that's enough of that.
Yeah, you had a show this week or last week.
My man, I've had like what feels like 50 of them. Yeah, it's So I had Jason Smith of Train Dodge. Speaking of Caterwall, they played Caterwall, great Oklahoma band on. This week, Thursday, is a pretty big episode for a certain kind of music fan. Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum is going to be on. Who from Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum? I would love to know the answer to that question, but they're going to be on my show, and they have not done. They broke up kind of before there were such a things as like podcasts that had visual medium and whatever. Very interesting band. Chat Pile are huge fans of them, so friends of the show that are also awesome. Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum. They got a Kickstarter thing. They've raised like $100,000 or something on it. There's like 100,000 pages of text of whatever they're doing with it. It's going to be a crazy show. They're a great band. So honored to have them on. That Steel Pole Bathtub episode, still doing some numbers in my world. So if you're interested in Steel Pole Bathtub, you can check that out. I don't know, whatever. I'm real busy with this Platonic Reversal stuff.
You are. And
Thank
of
you.
course, when you're not doing that, you're making.
But $1 a month, early access, patreon.com, Platonic Reversal. If everyone else is doing their freaking Patreon, I'm doing mine too.
Yeah, of course.
Mine's a Bernie Sanders model, Michael. So it's like $1 a month. Just lots of people. That's the idea anyway.
But yeah, you have also like when you're not doing Platonic Reversal, you're also recording music.
Yes, correct.
And you can go over to Bandcamp right now, Neutron Friends on Bandcamp.com. Check out the new single off of the new split LP that if you haven't listened to it yet, and buy it.
Do you know any of the names or no?
The one?
I'm just going to let you swing on this one. Yeah.
No,
why don't you make up what you think it is? That might be funny.
To be totally honest with you, I am so bad with names of music. Like
we know.
I'm just.
I'm good at guessing songs with 1 second.
All right. I'm going to throw him a life preserver here. It's Adult Prom is the name of the LP, and the single's Wild Antics. Currently shooting a video for that with a friend of the show, Mark Borchardt. And
Wild Antics sounds like this movie we just
exactly.
right here. Yeah.
Absolutely. Bandcamp Friday, this Friday. So for people that enjoy music that are watching the show, that'd be a good time to pick it up.
And we can plug it hard during possession because the one thing when you're having a conversation about possession that you want to do is you want to throw in as many references to Bandcamp as possible.
Exactly, it's a natural thing. Really.
Absolutely.
But yeah, and we got a West Coast tour coming up in October. Let's see, I think I have the latest tour poster. Yeah, boom, here we go. So can't read anything on here. That's the Chris Williams poster though. And I'm sorry, Michael. You can do what Kristina's doing and go around it if you want. Los Angeles, Phoenix, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Sacramento, Reno, Eugene, Portland, Bellingham, and Seattle. Bellingham is Bellingham Exit Fest, and Seattle was Rat City Recon. So those are all great shows. Very excited for the Matt Gilbert. Yeah, there you go. Very excited for folks to see it. If you're on the West Coast, come see us. Michael, I feel like last time you were on the show, was I plugging West Coast tours? I think I was.
You were plugging some sort of tour. Yeah,
I'm always plugging something. Yeah.
You were plugging something.
Real busy.
Yeah.
I tune out when I talk too. It's okay.
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah, of course. There we go. Kristina, you have
I have no idea what just happened.
If I were on my script here,
And he had a stroke.
You got a Twitch show.
He was trying to get Uncle Alligator back down into his.
Yeah. Hey, Michael, have you ever been on a show like this before? Is this like
Just the last time I was on your show.
Well, the fact that you came back speaks volumes about your character. Thank you.
Yes. But
right, let's go while we're young.
Yeah,
Too late.
Yeah, you have a Twitch show. Is there anything happening this week, or are you?
I'm at a place with no internet right now, but at least I live around the corner from these people, so I'm just coming here whenever, anything important.
Is this what you're like with no internet?
Exactly.
Yes. I just have to depend on my data, like my unlimited data on my phone, and I'm like having to, move around the house and be like, oh, I got signal. It's ridiculous.
You're really going to stretch the definition of that unlimited data, huh?
Yeah. And of course, if people want to help you out, you have a Patreon. Patreon.com.
Everybody has a Patreon these days.
Yeah, you can just for $1, $1.
Yeah.
It's and just like me.
Now, see, you guys are making me feel like the $2 that I charge at the lowest end is now it's too much. It's
like a greedy capitalist you are. Can we also say Kristina finally been added to the show logo? So there's our new show logo.
Oh, yes.
2023. It's been a bit Barbie themed. Sorry, Michael, you're behind this one.
That car does not have an engine, so of course I'm able to drive it.
Yep, there you go. Michael, it's pretty funny. The first iteration of this, when Andy drew me, because he draws these things, I looked super pissed for no reason. I was like, why do I look so angry?
Now you look like the smug Wojak. That's like
I look. It's more. I'll take smug. Whatever.
No, I'm not. I'm saying that you look like there's a certain that cartoon fucking Wojak guy or whatever, the meme that people send around.
Oh, is that what the name of that dude? Honestly, I misheard you. I thought you said Bojack. I thought you said
yes.
Yeah,
Here, I'm like, does it look like a horse to me?
Is that the horse cartoon? I've seen that picture.
I have a pitch.
It's funny.
You. It's a cartoon, and he's an alcoholic horse.
The horse is depressed. That's the pitch. And also, he's an alcoholic.
They say, "Do you want to live?"
Not that great of a person, but he's trying to get better.
They say, "Do you want to live?" He says, "Nay."
Anything else, Andy? Please tell me that's it. No.
I was just gonna ask Michael if he had any other anything coming out that's he wants to plug. I know. Of course, people can still watch Woman in the House across the street from the Girl in the Window. If I got that right.
Oh, very good. Yeah.
There we go.
Right.
Yeah.
And yet he can't remember.
I've been practicing. I got everything else wrong, but.
Yeah. Can't get anything of my plugs correct, but you got yours. That's good.
Well, I think
that
was
priorities.
Brain space.
Production is shut down now because of the strikes.
Yes, exactly. I would be surprised if that was. Yeah.
Yeah, I squeezed in I did a couple episodes of a show called American Rust that Jeff Daniels is in, and and that was the dark cop drama, really good, good cast. So yeah, those will come out. I guess they're finishing them off, and I was really happy with what we did, and it's a good show. So that'll come out, and then it'll be a while because nothing has been happening. We've been on
really loved your Snowfall episodes, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love that show.
Hell of a show.
Great time doing that show.
Top-notch show, and I think your episodes really were head and shoulders above the the surrounding episodes at least.
Until they're on the show, and then those guys have the best shit episodes.
I mean, the whole show's great. It's just
notably great episodes of that show, of an already notably great show.
Yeah, I mean, come on. There's a tiger in it.
With
that's your metric?
Yes.
Well, he did say that about Mean Streets too.
That's you know what, you're not wrong about that.
He's
But
consistent.
the Jeff Daniels thing is it's interesting because I feel like, well, Dumb and Dumber came out the same year that Airheads did, and it's kind of I feel like it's fascinating that like he takes a lot of like very serious like indie roles now and like, you know, dramatic roles, and it's the same kind of thing I feel like with someone like Buscemi where he's like very funny, but you know, at the same time like is very good at doing like the dramatic indie roles.
Yeah, well, Jeff is very proud of Dumb and Dumber. This is, you know, I didn't get a chance to talk to him about it a lot, but he certainly, you know, considers it good work, which it is. You know, you guys know it's harder to do comedy than to do anything else. I mean, it really is. It's just so if somebody,
if you've seen this show, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, he's a good guy, Jeff. Very, you know, and a very committed actor and a good person to work with. I had a good time with him.
I just watched The Squid and the Whale for the first time in like, you know, in years, because we talked about like Kicking and Screaming, and he absolutely like kills it in that as a like an unreliable dad.
Yeah. It's a there's a lot to love about Squid and the Whale.
Yeah,
but Jeff Daniels is he's one of those guys that is equally good at comedy as he is at drama, and that's, you know, that should be celebrated, because I think people think that it's easy. Of course, you think that it's easy.
It's
not. It is not. No, it's not.
See, I've never thought it was easy.
Some people seem to.
Well,
think
a lot
it
of people think that, you know, if you're a dramatic actor and then you do a comedy, oh, you're loosening up. You're doing something easy. You're doing something that's not so serious.
Yeah,
right.
It's like no. It's so much harder to get the comedy right.
It's
and
good
the
to be
actors know that.
diverse and try to switch things up.
Look at how Odenkirk like blew everyone's minds, right? Of like just how great he is, and it's like, okay, so are you starting to get the fact that like if you're a great comedic actor that you can do drama? But the other way around doesn't always work, so it should always be celebrated for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like with Odenkirk though, it works really well because it wasn't a character that was written as someone that was going to be on the show like forever. You know what I mean? Like, so he was able to come in for that dramatic Saul role and kind of give it like energy, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, you're like on the show for like the rest of.
Look
the
at
time.
Walter Goggins, first season of Justified. He was not meant to be beyond that first season. They were like
that first episode.
You're right, and it was like, this guy's amazing. Let's keep writing him in stuff. He's great. Yeah, and like look at him now, you know, doing okay.
It's the same thing with Mike in Breaking Bad too. Like I think he was written for one episode, and then they're like, no, you like Jonathan Banks needs to just keep coming back.
Well, Jonathan Banks was in like he's in Community, and he's been in a few other things, but like that was definitely people like, who this guy? Like he's a great like there's the that guy roles, but then there's the this guy roles too. He's definitely a this guy. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, cool. So, final thoughts, right?
And
it's your birthday. I could do this.
No, anyone want to throw in some final thoughts? Michael, do you have anything that
why don't we
didn't get to, or you know?
No, I mean, you know, honestly, I'm just happy you guys want to talk about this movie, because Airheads kind of got a little lost. It played a lot on Comedy Central, and it was a huge flop when it came out. You know, it was not a box office success. It was really in one of those press junket things a few years later where somebody was talking to me and they mentioned Airheads, and I said, yeah, it's too bad nobody likes that movie. And she stopped and she looked at me and she said, are you kidding me? I said, no, the movie wasn't a success. Nobody paid any attention. And she said, oh no, people love that movie. And I'd never heard that. This was, 5 years after it came out. I just never heard it. I said, oh, well, that's good. Good to know that somebody liked it. So that movie I loved the film, and we had such a great time doing it. So for you guys now, 30 years later, to say, will you talk about Airheads? I'm like, yeah, you bet. There's
the reactions that we got to like putting up the thing and being like, hey, Michael Lehmann's going to come back. We're going to talk about Airheads. It's like so many people being like, oh, it's so good. Like, this is a movie that I definitely want to hear discussed. There was like,
definitely.
Yeah, I got a whole bunch of comments like that, which a lot of people don't usually comment on the episode art either. Like,
There are movies that are near objective masterpieces that people are like, yeah, fine, we get it. You have a movie show. It's like, fine. But like, yeah, people were excited about Airheads. Eddie Gabo of the band Something Is Waiting said was his favorite film of all time.
Oh, wow.
And that he has a signed poster in his house. So there you go.
That's amazing.
Signed by who?
I have no idea. I didn't ask him.
Okay.
He's my label mate. You want me to call him?
Who's it signed by? And he's like, oh, it's signed by the craft services guy. With the
Yeah, he did excellent.
He was smoking that turkey and.
He's the true hero. Like when you're the true hero. I think. Yeah.
Kristina, you got some final thoughts going on?
Oh yeah. When I was younger, I did find this movie on Comedy Central, and I eventually like rented it, and I was like, because you know how they change up some stuff. I found out, I was like, this movie's great.
Signed by Joe Montana.
Joe Montana, yeah.
Which is a multi-layered joke, and I appreciate that, Steve.
It is.
Thank you. Yeah, that's very good. Sorry, Kristina. I mean, it wasn't start.
I found it because my German grandmother was trying to buy movies for. She was we moved up here so that she could babysit me when I and my brother when I was a kid. My mom was going back to school, and she didn't know like anything about kids or like how to deal with kids or anything. So she bought a bunch of movies from like the library fair that like seemed like they were silly that kids would want to watch. And like the first one on the top of the stack was Airheads. It was like Airheads and like Cool Runnings. And
wow. Oh god. But I think this is a really good like Gen X comedy. I thought that, even my dad loved this movie. He was like, yo, you got because he was a huge fan of Brendan Fraser and Adam Sandler and Steve Buscemi. And I myself am in love with Steve Buscemi. So, but I just think that,
She even says it right.
yeah, literally.
I at least asked because I was like, look, my name's Conan. Like, how many people have mispronounced my name over the years, right?
Which, by the way, we didn't even talk about the line when fucking they're at the radio station at first. He's like Conan, give us the mic or something. He's like.
This is definitely one of my favorite comedies of all time. I don't think a lot of people appreciated it when it first came out, but it's clearly developed like a cult following because it's very much meme-ified and like, some certain like memes about the movie, like little clips, the scenes get viral. So yeah, if you haven't seen this movie, what's wrong with you?
Fix your life. Fix your heart.
Sorry about that phone ringing there. I can't do it. I'm at my mother's house. My 95-year-old mother's house, and she has a landline that rings.
Oh, who else? Who is it? I can't think of his name. Norm Finkelstein. It's like I was on with Jason Miles for his birthday show, and he's opining about this heavy topic and like the slaves and the Negro spirituals and this, that, and the other. Freaking phone won't stop ringing the whole time. I'm like, who's calling this man? He's busy. He's on a show. Like, stop calling him.
They're calling Jason and Norman Finkelstein.
Norm. They're calling Norm. And like, I was like, so of course.
Just Alan Dershowitz calling him over and over again to try to get him fired from the stream.
So of course I come in hot. It's like the first thing I say on that show because I was like, I gotta liven this up. This is look like a funeral, more like a birthday celebration. Anyway, whatever. That's a story about how I busted balls on Norm Finkelstein for his phone ringing. It's a pretty good one. Anything else, Kristina?
Oh, nope.
All right, Andy, you got some final thoughts?
Yeah, I do remember when this movie came out how a lot of guys were really pissed off at Brendan Fraser at the time. And I think it's probably because they were just jealous of how good looking he was. But yeah, there was a lot of hate towards him in high school, at least I remember. But then like I remember like I did not see it in the theater. Unfortunately, I wish I did. But they did have it at the library, and I rented it out of the library with Cutthroat Island. Yes. Yeah, that Cutthroat Island.
Yeah,
it's library core. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I absolutely fell in love with it.
That's where Michael gets the most royalties is the library, actually.
Yeah, the library. They send me five 5 cents for.
He gets paid in periodicals, though. That's the problem.
Well, they say having fun isn't
Periodic.
hard. When,
He's in some cat fancy. I don't know why.
They say having fun isn't hard when you've got a library card.
Every
You know what I
time you
mean?
check out Airheads from the library, they reduce his late fees.
we have to pay Michael Lehmann. I'm sorry, we can't waive the late fees.
No. There's some things we cannot do.
No. And like I said earlier, this movie did it was the first time I ever heard Lemmy, Motorhead. First time I ever heard the Ramones. So like this movie is kind of important to me musically too. So thank you so much for like expanding my world and new and wonderful directions.
Well, you're welcome. That's what we do it for.
But also
I already knew all that stuff, so you didn't expand anything. But.
Was it the first time you also looked up Nudes of B. Arthur, this movie too? And you're like, I wonder.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Conan?
This is a lovable and laughable good time. Impeccable stacked cast, well filmed, well paced. As I mentioned earlier, possibly the funnest role and funniest that Joe Mantegna ever had. And eminently quotable, great music. I feel like it's unfairly forgotten about, and it's actually really cool to not only talk about this film, but to have Michael on and tell us all the insider scoops on it, because I think it's underrated.
Yeah, good.
Now we got to have you on for Hudson Hawk, and then we'll have the
Yes.
trio.
Talk about misunderstood. It's like that and Ishtar, man.
Yeah. Well, you can get me and Warren Beatty on at the same time, and we'll talk about those two movies.
Maybe only if he does it in Dick Tracy outfit.
Yeah.
Though. That's the only.
Oh, you mean like this?
I forgot we have that in there.
We also
Wow,
have
you got that up pretty quick.
Yeah, we also have the one where it's him and Halle Berry dancing.
Yeah. It's some Bullworth.
Bull-
we did do
Bullworth.
Bullworth. We
Yeah.
did do it. Yep.
And have used that GIF every single time.
I think that we got more mileage from the gifts in the episode, frankly. If you want to be true about it.
Well,
It do
all
be
right.
like that.
We're gonna hop over to the old after party and keep birthday celebrating it up.
That's right.
This is a good episode.